Juan Soto is unemployed. Everyone point and laugh. He doesn't have a job. This is one of those rare times you can say that about him or any big name player, because within a matter of time, that will be far from the case, and they will have more money in a day than the average person can dream of in a million lifetimes. So I just wanted to point that out to not miss out on this great opportunity to make fun of great baseball players for being unemployed. Sponsored by iTalk's Studios. Okay, so like the title suggests, I'm going to make free agent predictions. Just how YouTube works. I'm not going to title this video my free agent predictions just to start talking about what I had for lunch, why aliens built the pyramids, and what trades I think are going to happen. That'd be weird if I did that. Panda Express, if you were wondering. But I honestly never understood why anyone would care about my opinion on this, or why anyone cares about anyone's opinion on this, because it's just pure speculation. Like, I do have some insight on the Red Sox, specifically some insider info, but overall my opinion is the same as yours. We're all fans at the end of the day, and I'm not going to act like I'm some expert, because I'm not. And no, this isn't me covering my ass for when these predictions are inevitably wrong. Okay, maybe partly that, but again, these are just predictions, and I'm going to go position by position and say where each top free agent at each said position will sign, starting with catcher. Never mind, that's boring. Let's go to first base. So, Christian Walker is a really good hitter and has shown that for a while now in Arizona. Okay, that was mean, but when you look at the names of the free agent catchers, there's zero names that will have any insane impact on whoever signs them. Having a good catcher is important, obviously, but this list is filled with guys who, rather than add any star power, will add, hopefully, at least what these teams are expecting, solid defense and or good chemistry with the pitching staff. Austin Hedges re-signed with Cleveland purely off of his vibes, not because he hits. I don't think he even knows you're allowed to hit a baseball. That about sums up his 2024 season, but again, he's clearly a good person to have around. Kyle Higashioka is the top catcher in terms of value, and I'm going to say he goes to the Marlins. He's the exact type of veteran to add to a mess that's way too complex for him to improve much, but the two seem like a good fit. Well, it's a good fit for the Marlins. And if Higashioka gets the best deal with them, I can see him just taking that, and there's some good pitchers there to work with, so yeah, I think that'll happen. Let's move on to first base now, Christian Walker. Now, this is kind of a spoiler for later in the video when I make my Juan Soto pick, but I have to make this point because I got to get it out of the way, the kind of offseason I think the Boston Red Sox will end up having. I don't think they end up signing Soto, and because I don't think they end up signing Soto, I see them spreading their money out on several names, with one of them being Christian Walker. He seems like a perfect fit and what the Sox need, a right-handed bat who can get some time at first base or DH, assuming Tristan Casas is at first and healthy, and he's not going to be that expensive considering he's 34 years old. Walker's only gotten better as he's aged and is the perfect veteran-type guy to add to a team full of younger, up-and-coming players. Pete Alonso is a weird one because it's hard to see him not staying with the Mets, but I really do feel like that's realistic now. But it's also even harder seeing who will sign him if not them. And the only team I can really think of are the Tigers and the Yankees. It makes the most sense for the Yankees, I think, considering they're going to lose Anthony Rizzo and Gleyber Torres, too, most likely. Alonso's a really good bat to add, especially if they lose Soto. I just don't see that many teams that would be willing to drop $200+ million on Alonso. Not that he's not worth it, but does he fit? Like, for a lot of teams, yeah, he would make them better, but it would just seem unnecessary, and the Yankees are one of the only teams that it wouldn't feel that way, along with Detroit, who I think is a wild card for most of these free agent hitters, and you'll see that as a trend in this video. I don't know if they'll be a front runner for anyone, but because I think they'll be in somewhat on mostly every hitter, they'll end up with one. But if it comes down to the Yankees and Tigers bidding for Alonso, the Yankees will win, especially if they just lost Soto, like I said. Seattle makes the most sense for literally any free agent who's ever held a baseball bat in their entire life. There is nobody who needs hitting as desperately as they do. You watching this might as well get a shot out there for the Mariners. Anything would be better than how bad it was last year, but they're also not a team willing to spend much, so yeah. Now go to Gleyber Torres at second base. He seems like someone who could become a Mariner. He's not going to require a contract the Mariners wouldn't consider, like Alonso's. He's a solid player who'd fit right into what the Mariners are trying to do with their infield, which is figure it the hell out. I could see him getting like a 4-year type contract there and hopes he helps with the hitting, obviously, because he's not at all a good defender, but who cares? If he hits, it'll be worth it. That's what the Mariners need. I could also see the Angels but the Mariners would probably be a little more willing to give Glaber a couple more dollars to get a bat, especially also considering they're obviously closer to a playoff team. As miserable as their offense was last year, they missed the playoffs by just one game. But also don't count out Detroit, again, who should be the biggest threat for Glaber, because like Seattle, they could use an upgrade at literally any infield position. So it just becomes who is more willing to get that extra bag out to get him, but I'm going to guess he goes to Seattle. Shortstop, Willy Adames. One of the most sneaky, valuable players in all baseball. It's been noted for a long time the Dodgers like him, and I've tried to trade for him in the past, and I think the Dodgers are where he'll end up. The Dodgers don't seem to be that in on Soto. They did recently say they want to put Mookie back to the infield next year and try that out some more, but if they can get Adames, I don't think they'd have any issue keeping Mookie's elite glove and right, while Adames and his proven shortstop glove slots in there. He shouldn't require an insane contract, probably like $150 million over 5 or 6 years. Again, they've liked him for a while. This makes the most sense. Ha-Sung Kim, I predict, goes to the Giants. Kim, although not being the strongest hitter, has proven to be such a valuable player for his top-tier defense, and he'll be a nice addition to any team, but especially a team like the Giants, who already have Matt Chapman and his top-tier glove at third base locked up. Now plug Kim in next to him to also join fellow Korean Jung-Hoo Lee. Seems like a perfect fit. Third base, Alex Bregman, Astros. Now they have a history of never being in on massive blockbuster free agents, letting their core guys go like George Springer and Carlos Correa when they hit the free market, but I don't think Bregman will cost as much as those guys. Yeah, some other teams will be in, but overall I think the Astros keep them. Before the outfielders, let's get into the pitching. Again, because I don't see the Red Sox ending up with Soto, I see them spreading out that money with a lot of it going to pitching. I think Max Fried goes to the Red Sox. That seems perfect. I do also see them trading for Garrett Crochet from the White Sox, but this video isn't about trades, but it's for free agency. I think Fried is who they get. Corbin Burns, I can see going to the Giants. They can use another starter. They're not going to end up with Soto, just like they haven't with Ohtani or Judge or Harper or literally any other free agent, but I think they get Burns, and that would of course mean the Orioles lose him, because unfortunately you can't play for two teams at the same time. It's in the rules somewhere, I think, which is where I think Blake Snell goes, a place that, like San Francisco, a lot of folks living there don't like to follow the rules. Baltimore. Snell would fit a lot of teams, and oddly enough, this would basically mean the Giants and Orioles swap the one and done guys they had in 2024. And it also oddly works. I think it makes sense for both sides, especially considering, although I don't think the Orioles keep Burns, there's no way they don't do anything. So Snell, that'll be who they get in replace of him, I guess, is like their ace. Yusei Kikuchi seems like a perfect fit for the D-backs. Their name was thrown around for Alex Bregman, and that made sense until it didn't 5 seconds later when my brain turned on. There's no reason for the D-backs to pay for a hitter. Arizona needs pitching, and more pitching. And then maybe a pitcher after that, if not another pitcher. Kikuchi wouldn't cost as much as Snell or Burns, so I think he ends up as the one they go after. Nathan Eovaldi would also be a good fit for the D-backs, but I think he stays in Texas with the Rangers. Jack Flaherty has been rumored to likely go to the Yankees. That seems weird. It could very well be the end result, but I'm going to predict he goes back to Detroit. He liked playing there, and he of course also loved LA, but I don't think the Dodgers feel the need to pay out for another pitcher who isn't as promised. Like, Flaherty just had a really good year for sure, but he could end up being really bad next year and it wouldn't fully surprise me. I feel like that's where he is in his career. He hasn't shown that he could be good on a consistent level, really, and I think that's where guys like Nick Pivetta come in, as he's a more under-the-radar option for anybody, but also someone who could be just as effective as Flaherty, if not better. Pivetta is an interesting one. He always seems to be on the edge of being great or being really bad in any given start. Like, he's walking a tightrope and can fall either way easily. I feel like a guy like him doesn't have much room for mistakes, and when he's not fully on his game, he's going to get absolutely pummeled. But when he is on his game, he literally could be one of the top pitchers in all of baseball, and I think that's definitely something a lot of teams are willing to take on. I mean, reliable pitching is not easy to come by at all, and it seems like a lot of teams will want a guy like Nick Pivetta. Where does he end up? I'm going to go with the Cubs. I think they'll give out the best offer in hopes that he's what his potential says he could be. I think there's going to be a lot of teams in on Pivetta, and the Cubs don't seem that far off from being a playoff team. Like, they're nothing crazy, but I feel like a guy like Pivetta could help push them to that point. I think they see that, and I think they'll be the ones to give him the most money. Back to hitting, left field, the top guy is Tyler O'Neill, who makes sense for so many teams. His biggest issue is his history with being hurt, but when he's healthy, the potential is undoubtedly there, and he has some of the best power in baseball. He just hit 31 in Boston. He's about to be 30, so he's not really old. Man, I don't know. I think a team like Seattle and Detroit, who obviously need hitters fit, but they need infield hitters more so. Their outfields are pretty set. But go to a team like Minnesota and it's the complete opposite. Their infield is mostly set. That's where their strongest hitters are. The outfield is what's weaker. So I say the Twins get O'Neill. That's a good fit. Teoscar Hernandez is listed as a right fielder. I'm just going to put him as a left fielder, which is where he also plays. He could play either corner of the outfield. I say he stays with the Dodgers. Again, they're not going to get Soto, and I think this offseason will mostly be about keeping guys like Walker Buehler and Teoscar while also adding Adames, like I said earlier. Teoscar just seems too perfect of a fit for the Dodgers for what he just did throughout this entire season. And for how much he loves it in LA, I think he stays. The next best left fielder is Jurickson Profar, who I think also stays with his team, San Diego. He's obviously been really good there for a while now, just had a career year, so it's not going to be cheap to keep him, but I think they do, especially if they don't keep Kim. I don't know why they'd let both of those guys go. I can see one of them going, but not both. Anthony Santander is another really good bat out there, but again, he's an outfielder, so that's what sucks for teams like the Mariners and the Tigers. There's not a very strong infield class for this year's free agency, and as for the Mariners, even if they were interested in Santander, which they should be and probably are, I just don't think they're going to be the highest bidder for him. I don't think they're going to be willing to spend the most to get him, which is where the Tigers come in. Even though they don't need an outfielder, Santana can still DH, and again, the Tigers need any hitting they can get because most of anything would be better than what they currently have overall. And Santander would add some much needed power to that lineup that I think they're going to go for and make him their DH. And last but certainly not least for the big free agents, Juan Soto, who, if you've paid attention to the clues and really anything I've said in this video at all when I brought up the Red Sox or the Yankees, I think Juan Soto is going to end his unemployment run with the Mets and get a job there. I think Steve Cohen's gonna give him a shot and get him off the streets. I just don't see him getting outbid if he really does want him, Cohen, which I think he does, and I think they'll go all out to make it happen and be happy to lose Alonso in the process. I think the Mets would be pretty okay to make that swap and lose Alonso to the Yankees but gain Soto. I don't think Mets fans, I don't think anyone associated with the Mets would really have an issue with that. So those are my picks, most that I assume will be wrong, but hey, I gave it a shot. Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.